So today we're going to be talking about emotional intelligence and why it is absolutely so important that we diligently work on upping our level of emotional intelligence, because more than anything, an indicator for our success is very much going to rely on our level of emotional intelligence. Codependency, depression, panic attacks, you name it. My emotions were all over the place, and I was a highly emotional person. So if you asked me 20 years ago if I thought that I had a high emotional IQ, I would tell you yes, because I was emotional. But over the years, studying psychology and studying codependency and narcissistic abuse and studying emotions, I began to realize that being emotional doesn't mean you have a high emotional IQ. My emotions were all over the place. I had no ability to regulate them. I didn't even know what that meant. I had an emotion and I reacted to it. So emotional intelligence relies on the ability to manage our emotions. Emotional intelligence is essentially the ability to manage our emotions and even help manage the emotions of others. Now, to do this, we need three things. So I hope you have your pencils out. Number one, we need empathy for the self, and we need empathy for others. Number two, we have to find ways to harness our emotions in a constructive way so that we know what to do when emotions show up. Number three, we have to be able to emotionally regulate ourselves, and we have to be able to help others regulate their emotions as well. So when I was highly reactive and highly codependent and highly below the veil, this is the way I lived my life. I had empathy for everybody else but myself. I was a people pleaser. I was a head bobber. I did everything from everybody else, and I had zero empathy for myself. I had been taught and programmed by my parents that emotions were irrelevant. The second thing that I did was I tried to be perfect. I tried to suppress my emotions. I thought there was something wrong with me because I had so many emotions. My father would say often, don't listen to this psychological mumbo jumbo, because I love learning about psychology in college. If I cried, I was called a drama queen when I was really young. And if I was upset, my mother would say, oh, she's just looking for attention. And so the messages that I received about emotions were they were bad, they were stupid, they were irrelevant. And yet here I was, an emotional being, experiencing emotions and doing what I could to come up with ways to navigate them, which in most cases was denying them, stuffing them, and then when I couldn't help it anymore, I vomited them. So the third thing I did because of my childhood programming was, instead of managing my emotions, I reacted to them. And in all my people pleasing and my catering, what I was trying to do was find ways to deny my emotions so I didn't have to deal with them. So I felt abandoned and I had this loneliness. So if I took care of somebody, I felt less lonely and maybe they'd never leave me. So I didn't have a whole lot of awareness around these things, right, in these situations. And so I was constantly reacting to what was surfacing. And if anything, I was trying to suppress my emotions. One of the major things that we have to understand and recognize about emotional intelligence, that in order to have emotional intelligence, we need a healthy sense of self. I need a starting point. And so I teach all of my clients, and in my coaching programs, I talk about this heavily, that if your parents did not value your emotions, then you do not have a healthy sense of self. If you were raised in a home where the self that you were was invalidated and you grew up feeling invisible, I call it the disease of invisibility. If you grew up this way, you don't have a starting point. And so it's nearly impossible for you, and it's not your fault, to have high emotional IQ. So I'm going to teach you what I call WAVE, and it's an acronym for how you can develop high emotional IQ for yourself and even for others. So the first thing that you want to do is witness. You want to witness your emotions. That means you have to understand that you have to find the space where you disidentify from an emotion and you learn to observe the emotion. So you're witnessing the emotion take place within you from a higher state of awareness. Remember, self-awareness is part of emotional IQ. And as you do this for yourself, you also learn how to do this for others. So witnessing how others feel and witnessing how others are experiencing their world is how you want to also treat the self. So this is twofold. You're developing empathy for the self as well as for other people. Witness your emotions. The second thing you want to do is you want to accept what emotions show up. This is part of what I call the 1, 2, 3 process that I teach in my 12-week breakthrough coaching program, and it is highly, highly successful. And people are having amazing results with increasing their level of emotional IQ and thus their happiness and their success. So accepting how you feel is huge. What most people do is they judge how they feel, or they suppress how they feel, or they don't want to feel what they feel. Or when they see their child is upset, they don't want to deal with the fact that their child is upset. They want to suppress the child's anger or sadness, or they want to guilt the child for feeling what they're feeling. They want to shame the child so that the parent can feel better about the child's experience, because so oftentimes when we're raising children, what we do as parents is our sense of self and our identity and our worth comes from how happy our children are. And so when our poor children are expressing a very normal emotion, it could be, "Mommy, I hate you," right? My son said that to me when he was about 9 years old, and I was devastated, right? And I was reactive. I had very little emotional IQ at the time. And if I had a chance to go back in time, I would handle that completely differently. So I would accept how my child felt. I would acknowledge how he felt. I would ask him to tell me why he felt this way. So the second thing you want to do is you want to accept and you want to acknowledge your feelings and the feelings of others. You want to validate how you feel. So what does that look like? So let's say, I'll just use the scenario I used with my son when he was 9 years old. If I had high emotional IQ at the time, which I did not, then I would have said, "Wow, that hurt me. You know, what my son said has hurt me. It's triggered not enoughness in me. I try so hard to make him happy, and now my value as a mother has plummeted, and I'm feeling bad. I'm feeling insecure. I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling disconnected from my son. I'm feeling unworthy," right? So once I witness this and I accept this, I validate this, I say to myself within my own head, these are very valid emotions. You love this little boy. He's obviously upset. You didn't buy him the video game he wanted you to buy him. He is coming from a 9-year-old space, right? He doesn't understand finances. He doesn't understand a lot of things. You know, his words have hurt you. Of course this hurts you. You love him. So validating how you feel is very, very important. And at the same time, when people show up in your experience, whether it's at work, maybe it's an employee, or it's your sister, or it's your spouse, or it's your child, validating their emotion from a non-egoic place. Don't make how someone else feels. Don't make it about you. Just see their experience and keep it outside of you. Remember, that's an external experience. The next thing you want to do is you want to have empathy. You want to have empathy for yourself and have empathy for others. So what does that look like? So again, if we use the situation that I just talked about with my son, then I validate how I feel, and then I have empathy for my emotions. So of course, you know, you feel this way, and it's totally fine to feel this way. You're a good mom. You try hard. You know, this too shall pass. You know, maybe you should go for a walk, or, you know, maybe you need some time out for yourself. So having empathy and understanding why this emotion showed up, and just acknowledging it as a valid human emotion without needing to react to it and yell at my son and punish my son, is a very healthy way to process this emotion. When our children present to us, it's important that we teach them that we have empathy for their feelings. So, "Oh, you hate me right now? All right, I guess if I was you, I would hate me too. You know, you're into this video game, and your friends will have this video game, and I've just told you that I'm not buying this video game. You must be really disappointed. I can understand why you feel that way." That is a very intelligent mom, right? Very self-aware mom, very compassionate mom. That's a team player mom who understands the value of teaching her child to understand that his emotions are valid and that it's totally fine to express them. And this child ends up feeling seen, and now he's developing a healthy sense of self. At the same time, he's learning skills about managing his own emotions and managing the emotions of others. The fifth thing that you want to do is you want to express. So, you know, when it comes to a child or it comes to an employee, you get these people to express how they feel, ask them why they feel the way they feel. So it's sort of like an exploration. You're asking for more information. Now, when you're dealing with yourself, what you want to do is you want to get quiet. And one of my favorite tools is journaling, right? So you want to light a candle, go into a dark room, you know, have a small light on your desk, and just journal about how you feel from soup to nuts, the entire experience, and dig deep. You want to learn to develop an analytical mind about your emotions. This way, you're not triggering and you're not reacting to your emotions. You know an emotion has showed up, and now it's your time and your job to analyze that emotion. What we're trying to do is approach our emotions from a patient perspective. So highly emotional, intelligent people understand that there's an undercurrent, right? That there's a reason why I feel the way I feel, and I'm willing to explore that a little bit more. I understand that it's not healthy to react to my emotions anymore. If you come from a trauma background, you might have tremendous empathy for everybody else, but you might not have empathy for the self. It's so important that you learn to work on that first quality, learning to have empathy for the self. So learning to master our emotions is all about three things. Learning to master our emotions is about increasing our level of self-awareness so we can learn to find the space between our thoughts. And you can watch my Respond, Not React video, and that'll help you with that. Understanding where our emotions coming from is what I call childhood subconscious programming. Learning about codependency, thinking about what type of a home you were raised in and what kind of ideas you were taught about life and even about yourself can help you become more emotionally intelligent. We are learning to understand that our emotions come from somewhere and they deserve to be explored. It's sort of like you go into your basement and you find that the basement is flooded. And instead of looking for the hole, you just keep dealing with the water. You just keep taking buckets and taking them outside, but the water keeps returning. Dealing with our emotions is sort of like that. So we have these emotions, which are just energy in motion. And what we're trying to do is find out where the source is coming from. Where's the hole in the wall? Like I said earlier, we recognize that our childhoods have a ton to do with how we respond and our emotions. This all helps us learn the value of managing our emotions. So many of us, and those of you who watch my channel and follow my work, we struggle with emotions. What we have to put into our heads, dear ones, is we have to recognize that the goal from today on is to learn how to manage our emotions rather than just react to our emotions. When you master your emotions, you're mastering your world and you get to master your reality, because thoughts and feelings become expressed in the 3D world, better known as manifestations. My name is Lisa A. Romano. I'm a life coach and best-selling author and the creator of the 12-week Breakthrough Coaching Program, which helps you up your emotional IQ. It's all about healing from codependency, narcissistic abuse, and learning how to deal with the programs and the patterns that were passed down to us through our families of origin. Learning to master the self is an amazing, amazing journey. And the more you can master yourself, the better your life experience will be. And better will be the life experiences of those you touch. I run my class twice a year, once in February and once in August. I moderate it myself with the team, and I'd be honored for you to check it out at www.lisaaromano.com. One lucky YouTube winner a month is going to win a 1-year membership to my Breakthrough Warrior membership site, which holds programs, meditations, podcasts, interviews, and included in the membership is a live group call every month with me on Facebook. All you have to do is click the subscribe button and click the notification bell to enter to win the 1-year-long membership. I so hope that this video has inspired you to understand the value of upping your emotional IQ, especially if you come from a trauma background. It's not your fault if you have triggers. It's absolutely not your fault if you live in survival. But it's so important that we recognize the value of learning to manage our emotions so that we are no longer pulled around by our nose by emotions. Emotions can be managed, and I just hope that this video has helped you understand that a little bit more clearly and has given you some direction and some thoughts to chew on as you up your emotional IQ. Namaste, dear ones, as I bow to the love and the light that is absolutely in you. Bye for now. Until next time.